Hi, this is Bill Collier with the Tioga Freedomist. We're here with the Oldham family, Jim, Tammy, and Mark, talking about a new business that just started here December 1st, opened up in the county, offering a cab service. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about that inside. Okay, we're back inside with Tioga Freedomist and with Tammy and Jim Oldham. A lot of readers are asking, we saw cabs running around. Why are there cabs? Well, we have cabs in the county. So what I really want to start with is what inspired the creation of this cab company and in this market?
I have been in the public sector for like 35 years, and one of the things that we saw were clients were waiting for long, extended periods of time. Transportation was always an issue. So this year, after I received my master's in public administration, I decided instead of going back into the public sector that I would start a cab company. My husband and I have done so.
So you drug him along.
I did.
And he seems to be happy about it, though.
Yes, yeah, it was one of those things that I mentioned to you earlier. We used to sit around and talk about, what things does this county need, and this was one of those topics. And we talked about starting a business. This was the idea that came right to the top of the list.
What goes into actually creating a cab company? I mean, I'm thinking that there's all kinds of regulatory hoops and this and that.
There is. I'll start on some, and Jim can do some. But for one thing, is it's regulated by Public Utility Commission. So you have to apply for the applications for the different licenses, depending on what you want to do. We have an airport, we have a taxi, and we applied for a paratransit, which is still in limbo. And it took, for us, from start to finish, we were incorporated on May 6th of 2013, and it took until December 6th to actually get approval process. So the process is a very lengthy process. And then we had to get the Department of Transportation. We had to apply for a fleet account when we got our vehicles, and I'll let Jim tell about that, because we actually ended up running to Harrisburg to get our fleet overnight to get our licensed, so we could start the following day.
Wow. You end up getting into an interesting kind of legislative closed loop where you need to get your PUC approval so that you can then get your fleet license, so that then you can get your taxis, and you need insurance to get your PUC approval. So that's a complete circle. And what we couldn't do is get anybody to say, well, how am I going to do all those things if one is dependent upon the other? And what we finally did was we went to our insurance agent and said, what can you do for us? He said, well, at least pick out the vehicles that you're going to get me the VIN numbers. Then we can issue insurance. Once you have insurance, then you can get that to the PUC and they'll issue the approval. Then you can get the registrations for the vehicles that you've already got the insurance for. And the final piece was to make it all work. In less than 2 weeks, we ended up driving down to Harrisburg one evening, staying overnight, and then going into the Department of Motor Vehicles with all the paperwork to get the taxi tags.
So what you're saying, it's a real piece of cake if the cake happens to be in the middle of a Byzantine maze.
Yes.
Yeah, so other than that, it's a piece of cake.
It takes the same kind of skills to navigate.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right at the moment, we're very much family run. So literally all the drivers driving are all still family members.
So are you driving?
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you driving?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right now, it's the family that's doing a lot of it, and so you're very much self-employed. And you see any kind of emerging trends with who your clientele might end up being?
I think so. One of our biggest clientele when we first started was soldiers and sailors, people sitting in the emergency room. They didn't have anybody to take them home before, so now they love us, because now they can call and say, Tammy, pick up this person, take them home. So that's one of our biggest clients. Another one is the senior citizen population. A lot of them don't like to take the bus or wait for the bus, so we have a lot of those regulars, I call them already, that'll call me. They use us probably 3 or 4 times a week, if not more, just to go and do their errands, library, food places. So it's a diverse.
So now you're licensed in the county,
right?
So you're not going to go and do a pickup in Williamsport.
Not typically, unless it was an airport.
People going up to Elmira, and that's a big deal. You know, people go to Elmira most of the time
Right.
for flights. I've flown quite a bit, and I either have to drive to DC because I'm going overseas, and Elmira is not a good place to go if you're going overseas. But for national, you know, I end up going up to Elmira. I've never had to go to Williamsport. But typically, if somebody's coming from, like, you know, Wellsboro area, Mansfield area, you know, and they arrange this in advance, what are they looking at to get up there in terms of cost?
Well, the interesting thing, airport versus the regular taxi. Regular taxi is all metered, so it's a matter of exactly where you're coming from and exactly where you're going to, and we can talk about those rates. But for the airport, it's set up as a flat rate. So from the Wellsboro area to the Elmira Airport, it's $81.
Right. So now, if you're going there and you have to park in long-term parking, and now your vehicle's somewhere you don't want it to be, that's actually, you know, that's a good deal.
Yeah, the family we took, 'cause I had a family I took up there right before Christmas, and they were going to Florida, I think, for a little bit of a Christmas vacation. And the father had said to me, you know, I'd rather do this than have my truck parked up there and have to worry, is somebody going to ding it or what have you. So
Right,
there's
so
that.
wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody lands in Elmira and they want to call you because they live in Tioga, can they do that?
Yes, they can.
So they can actually call you guys up and say, at least there's some way for them to get,
Yeah.
you know, back down home. So you're applying for paratransit, and then there's, of course, your local rides where people are just going back and forth. What are the rates for those?
Okay, well, the metered rate, and I'll give you the paratransit one. The metered rate it's a $2.25 for the initial, you know, flag drop, if you will, and then it's 35 cents for every fifth of a mile, which basically is $1.75 a mile. So $2.25 plus $1.75 a mile. And when we were setting our rates, we talked to other taxi companies in the surrounding area. So Athens, Sayre, Williamsport, and so we wanted to set our rates to be in the same kind of a range. And so we're at or below what the taxi companies are in the surrounding area.
To get into doing the taxi company, you not only have to, you know, have good people, and if you're a family, of course, you got that solved, and have the regulations, and have the right kind of vehicles. But you got to kind of have the talent and understanding of how to run the company, and then, of course, got to know the roads. How did you overcome that?
That's interesting. I have the public sector background. It is a for-profit business, but it's a public sector business. So I have the public sector. So I'm used to dealing with the agencies and people. And Jim has the background from the private sector, where he has his degrees from business and all that. So he has that experience. So it makes it kind of interesting when we're working together from different aspects of a profit and a nonprofit working together. But it seems to work really well.
So that's the management. I mean, there's a lot of roads, and there's a lot of places to get lost in this county. We because of GPS, and I want to say this, because of GPS, we inadvertently didn't get to the right place this morning. But for another place we went to this morning, but it is easy to get lost around.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you, I mean, I see you're from the area, so you know the roads a little bit. But.
Right. We use GPS again, and we have a what we use is a cloud-based system, which is actually from Sweden, that we dispatch in our cars. We have new technology, so it helps us overcome some of those barriers. And like you said, I mean, we know most of the area, but...
So finding the shortest route, so like,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
I landed in London, and the guy got in his cab, and of course he was going around, and we figured out what he was doing, and we paid the fare, but he didn't get a tip. But the only tip I'll give you is Americans aren't stupid. But so I mean that's a factor in terms of being able to know, you know. So you're basically looking for the shortest route. So
yeah, and it's interesting because I've had a couple of rides so far where people said, well, which way are you going to go? And I go, well, you know. And this is actually, you know, legally, public utility regulations, we have to take the shortest route. Unless the customer wants to go a different way, or there's a hazard or something like that. So we've had a couple of times where I said, well, the GPS is telling me we want to go here, here, and here. And they said, well, no, we want to go this way. And so you pick up your clues too from people if they are used to traveling a particular route. We were taking some people home on New Year's Eve, and they said, no, if you go that road, we won't make it because it's iced up solid. It's up a hill.
Wow.
So we said, okay, great. We're going to take a clue from people that know the area, and we'll follow your
And
way.
sometimes there's routes to go around here where it may be longer in the distance, but it's shorter in the time.
Yeah. And you do have to be careful of GPS. I've had GPS try to lead me in directions. Not since we've been doing the taxi, but
So this is Bill Collier wrapping up with Tammy and Jim Oldham of Canyon Country Cab. It's been great visiting with you folks. Folks, if you need to get a cab, they're available. They have the cabs, they got the people.
Yep.
And again, the phone number to call is
724-2424.
It's got to be a jingle one day. I can see that. Thank you again for watching, and give them a try. And we welcome you as a new business in our county.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jim and Tammy Oldham of Canyon Country Cabs.
Tammy and Jim.
Tammy and Jim. Tammy, okay, because we don't want Tammy.